Welcome to the Manatee Glens Report on Manatee Educational Television. I'm Mary Ruiz, President and CEO of Manatee Glens, and your host today. We're on the campus of Manatee Glens Hospital and Addiction Center, and you'll get to see firsthand the many features and assets of the services that are offered here. Let's go to the library. Welcome to the library here at Manatee Glens Addiction Center. This is a quiet place where residents search for their own personal answers for their recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. And with me today are two guests, Angela and Lisa, who have bravely offered to tell their own story of recovery. So welcome and thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Mary.
Angela, I'm going to start with you. When was the first time you realized that your reaction perhaps to alcohol and drugs wasn't the same experience as other people's?
I would say back in 2005, I had a really bad car accident and I was sent to a pain management clinic. And I was given an extreme amount of opiates or painkillers and muscle relaxers and sleeping medications. And about 6 to 8 months later, it became extremely unmanageable and I was unable to function daily life. And over the past 6 years, I've been through several different detoxes and treatment programs and so forth. And they just haven't worked for me, and that's what brought me here ultimately.
So what started as a medical issue of a physical type ended up being added to a problem of addiction. So Lisa, what was your first realization that maybe you were a little different in your reaction to alcohol?
Well, in my 20s, I drank on weekends with friends. In my 30s, it increased dramatically, and I found myself drinking every evening after work. So it was 7 days a week.
I wonder if you could share with us when you first realized maybe this was something you couldn't handle all by yourself.
I would say probably around 40, yes. And it just became, especially after 9/11, it just became increasingly worse.
What was it about 9/11 that affected you?
Oh, I had been up there until the 10th. My birthday's on the 9th, and I had lost a friend in the World Trade Center.
I'm so sorry. So that trauma really propelled the illness even further for you.
Yes, yes, it did.
So you're both here at the Manatee Glens Addiction Center, starting your journey of recovery, so congratulations on that. What are the things, Angela, that you find most surprising about what you're learning about your addiction? Were there surprises that you didn't see coming?
There were. I've been to, like I stated before, I've been to other programs, and this one has been so different in the fact that the staff is amazing and supportive. And the surprises that have come to me are the fact that I've realized that I'm an addict here and that I do have a disease. And so that's opened the door to me for my recovery in the future, in the sense that I'm going to be able to, deal with it better, knowing that I've gained the skills here, the coping skills to deal with the issues, and also, be able to go out there and, deal with things better. And also the 12-step programs that we go to, the meetings that we go to. So you're able to actually, leave here and start life knowing that you're able to do all of these things and not have that anxiety and stress. You actually do leave here with having a plan in place.
So it's very comforting to have those tools at the ready, because your addiction is always at the ready.
Exactly.
Relapse is a real issue for people with alcohol and drug problems, because the brain has actually been rewired. That's one of the things you learn here at Manatee Glens Addiction Center. So what have you learned, Lisa, about relapse and recovery?
Well, oh my, so many things.
It would take a month for you to tell me, because that's how long the program is here, right?
This program has literally saved my life. It has taught me, I felt like there was no hope. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had given up, and I now have hope. And I understand that it is a disease. I never understood about alcoholism.
You thought it was just something that you were weak and you should be stronger and you should be able to stop drinking.
Exactly. That is what I thought.
That didn't work.
No. What's been very helpful for me is the tools that they have taught me for when I leave here. You know, I had a tendency, being living alone, to isolate, and now I have the tools. And like I said, I can't say enough. The staff has gone above and beyond, and I can say without any uncertainty that this program has changed my life and has saved it.
So if you two didn't understand addiction as a chronic lifelong disease, you probably didn't find that understanding among your family and your friends either. So what would you like to tell the people watching today so that they better understand about alcohol and drug addiction and maybe are more supportive of people like yourselves who are in recovery?
That it is a disease and that it, has no cure. And, that we have to live with this for the rest of our lives. We can't choose just to stop.
It's not your fault.
No, it's not.
You didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'll become addicted to pain pills or alcohol. That didn't happen, right?
No, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone, And, I do still have family members that don't quite understand and they wish that I could just stop, and I can't. But there are things out there that they can go to. There's Al-Anon, there's wonderful support groups here. Before we have our visitation days on Saturday, they go through a wonderful class for an hour before they come
family members and loved ones?
Yes. And
so
I
they have to learn
that.
some things about recovery as well.
Exactly. Because it's an important part of our life, our family members, our support system.
And Al-Anon is a family support group of Alcoholics Anonymous, because many times family members inadvertently contribute to the difficulties of people who have alcohol and drug addictions. And this helps them heal and start their recovery process as well. So it's chronic, it's lifelong, like diabetes. So what are the encouraging things that you might like to say to other folks who perhaps are also on their journey of recovery? What tips, Lisa?
That are on their journey to recovery. I guess I'm repeating what I said before, that there is hope. When you think that there isn't, there is. But you have to take that step.
And there is support.
There is
12-step groups.
Yes, which I never understood any of that. And, to be frank, I didn't want to at the time. I had to hit rock bottom. And that's what it takes sometimes, for my friends to leave me, my family not to send me any money, to go from living a very nice lifestyle, having a great job, to being homeless because of my addiction and my disease.
Powerful disease.
Yes.
So, Angela, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to a lot of things. Before in my life, as she stated before, I had a lot of very nice materialistic things. And, through this program and, going through the things I've gone through here, I've discovered, being humble, humility, and discovering the true things that are meaningful in life. And those things are going to be earning my family's trust back. And, really, to be honest with you, gaining the custody back of my son, and I wouldn't be able to even think about those steps if I didn't come here. I did hit rock bottom, like she talked about, and I had an accidental overdose, and I flatlined. So, I've been in institutions before, and like an NA or AA says, it's only jails, institutions, or death. So, I have no other options besides death. And I don't want that.
You choose life.
I choose life. And, there were no other available rehabilitations centers, and I found Manatee Glens. And this program, like she said, it saved my life. And I'm very grateful to be here. And I hope others, if they have those feelings of hopelessness and they think that there's nothing else out there for them, that they truly, give this option a chance.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I salute you both for your courage in starting your journey of recovery, for understanding it is a lifelong journey, and for finding new meaning in your life as a result of that experience. So thank you both, Angela and Lisa, for appearing on the show. The heart of Manatee Glens Addiction Center is its wonderful staff, and joining us today is Cheryl Ibera, who's director of the Addiction Center and all of clinical services at Manatee Glens Hospital Addiction Center. Thank you, Cheryl. It's wonderful to have you here. You have very unique training in addition to being a social worker in interventions, and many times people have a great deal of difficulty realizing that they're truly in trouble with a serious brain disorder of alcohol and drug addiction. So how does an intervention help a family bring a loved one to care?
The intervention process really is about educating the family as to how the disease of addiction has impacted them, how it's affected the entire family and the family system. It helps the family members put their thoughts in place, describe behaviors, not attacking the person, and it helps them put those into words that the addict or alcoholic can hear, or hopefully hear during the process of the intervention. The majority of the intervention process really is educating the family and assisting and supporting the family and being able to have a conversation with a loved one that's been very, very difficult for them to do.
So it's the beginning of healing for the family.
It is, for many
Wonderful.
families, yes.
We've all seen the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Is a real intervention anything like that?
Without some of the drama, yes, but sometimes it's very much like that. In the interventions that I personally have participated in, the family members oftentimes have done a lot of research. They've had some basic knowledge of themselves already, and it's just the process of helping them really put things into words, again, in a way that's going to be helpful and not attacking.
So it sounds like that just as family members can be very helpful in bringing a loved one to treatment, they can be unhelpful. And you spend a lot of time in your family group coaching the family. So what are some things that family members do out of love and wanting to be supportive that really are harmful?
The biggest thing is not setting boundaries and keeping boundaries. It's telling their loved ones that they will or will not continue to tolerate certain behaviors, and then they don't follow through. That's one of the hardest things for family members to do, is to really follow through, because as we know, addiction can kill, and family members will lose someone that they love very dearly to them if the addiction or the disease is not treated. But at the same time, it's really difficult.
It's a terminal disease.
It's a terminal disease.
So if you don't set those limits, you may be speeding that day when you get that terrible call.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what are some of the new developments in treating addictions that would be exciting for people to know about?
One of the things that I'm most excited about is the current research and the scientific research that we're now seeing with the disease, and also understanding how the brain functions and the impact of drugs and alcohol on the brain and various parts of the brain. It's very exciting.
We have brain imaging now. We can actually see that the physical structure of the brain is altered by the substances, and even by compulsions.
Exactly.
Sexual addiction, gambling addiction.
Right, we can actually see how even watching a video of someone taking drugs or using drugs, and how it lights up certain parts of the brain called the reward center. You can actually see that on these scans and images, and it's very exciting. It gives us the opportunity to also study what medications might be most helpful. For instance, for alcohol withdrawal, rather than using benzodiazepines as we have historically,
which are
highly
tranquilizers and relaxants,
yes,
sleeping pills.
They're highly addictive. We are now learning that there's a possibility that we can use medications such as Neurontin or valproic acid, which are not addictive.
But helpful in
Very
the detox
helpful
process.
Yes.
Since we're on the topic of detox, Manatee Glens has both inpatient and outpatient detox.
Correct.
Outpatient detox is kind of a novel idea. Why do we have two, and what are the differences?
The difference is that they're both medically monitored detox programs. However, detox from certain substances is not life-threatening, and people don't need to be in a hospital setting with 24-hour nursing care. So the outpatient detox program allows us the opportunity to still provide the same medically monitored services as far as monitoring the withdrawal symptoms, providing medication through prescriptions, but it also allows the family to continue to live their life as fully as possible during that process. It's very, very efficient for people who have children or people who work and can arrange their work schedule around the detox hours.
So if people wanted to seek help, what would be their first step?
First step would be to call Manatee Glens. Once they call and they have a brief assessment over the phone, anyone in the call center or at Manatee Glens Hospital and Addiction Center can refer them to what we feel is the most appropriate setting for them to get started.
So not everyone needs detox or even residential treatment?
Correct, not everyone does.
So what do you offer for people who don't need those more intensive levels of care?
We offer our intensive outpatient services at our east and west offices and general outpatient, which includes groups and individual therapy as well as medication management if they need it.
You also have a 24-hour access center that will accept people in an emergency. So what do family members experience when they come to the access center?
They experience the opportunity to provide some information as collateral information about their loved one that is very helpful to the clinicians who are doing the assessment. They receive information about the various programs, what each program entails, and they're helped to make an informed decision with the client or with their family member as to what's going to be the best opportunity at that point in time for that person.
And so it sounds like a wonderful alternative to the emergency room, which might be your first thought in an emergency.
Correct.
That's not medical. Well, I need help right away. So Manatee Glens Hospital and Addiction Center does have a 24-hour emergency response. People can just walk in. Right?
They can just walk in anytime, day or night. They have an assessment, evaluation. If it's warranted that an inpatient admission is necessary, they can be immediately admitted, and if they need an outpatient appointment, they can have one the very next day.
You know, after someone has been through detox, residential treatment, intensive outpatient, they might think they're done. Do you ever encounter that, and what is the advice that you give people?
We let people know that addiction is a disease. It's a disease like diabetes, heart disease. It's lifelong, it's chronic, it does not go away. It can be treated effectively, and that they need to really stay in treatment and have support for the rest of their life. Treatment is short-term compared to the recovery process. However, people who leave treatment have a much they have a less chance of staying in recovery than if they stay in treatment and learn the tools that they need to learn to stay clean and sober.
Right. Because you're actually fighting the anatomy of your brain.
Yes.
For the rest of your life. And the wonderful thing about the brain imaging is that we show that abstinence, recovery, treatment, counseling actually reverses some of the damage.
It does.
So before we close this segment, I wondered if you could talk about what the impact of alcohol and drugs would be on a brain that isn't finished developing yet, that of a teenager.
That's one of the scariest things about addiction today is the number of teenagers who are using substances. And if your brain has not fully developed, then obviously the impact of drugs or alcohol on that brain is much more permanent damage.
So there's no safe level of alcohol and drugs. Oh, it's only a beer, it's only pot.
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. And the brain does not fully develop until you're about 26 years old. So these kids, these
Which
teenagers,
is new brain science
new
information.
brain science.
And encouragement to parents everywhere of college students, I hope.
Please be aware of what your children are doing, because no substance in any amount is safe.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We're here with Dave Fleece and Frank Swanson. Dave is a counselor at Manatee Glens Addiction Center, and Frank is a behavioral health tech. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Frank, what is a behavioral health tech? That's kind of a new idea. People know what a counselor does, but your job is somewhat unique.
It is. Pretty much I'm the front lines of the unit here. What I am primarily doing is engaging with the clients, discovering what their emotions might be throughout the day, if they're going out on passes, watching them if they are having difficulty in recovery themselves, or if any disruptions may come up in their life, that I am here to help.
So you're the first support, you're the first aid,
Absolutely.
if you will, on the unit. That's wonderful. So many people are interested in helping people with alcohol and drug recovery, and it sounds like behavioral health tech might be a good way to enter into the field.
Well, absolutely, and that was my first thought. My goal is to become a psychologist.
Wonderful.
And I wanted to get my head in the door.
Okay, well you've got step one down. Dave, you and Frank are part of a treatment team. Tell us who the other members of the team are and what their various roles are in helping people in recovery.
Well, our postdoctoral psychologist is Dr. Anissa, we call her, and she's one of the therapists along with myself. I'm here part-time. John Kernoyer is another part-time therapist.
Sounds like there's a lot of therapy going on here. How many hours a week of therapy do the residents experience?
They can expect to get at least 1 good hour of individual therapy, depending on the need, sometime more than that. 20 plus hours of group psychoeducation, group therapy. Our model is a group therapy model, which is so useful in helping people overcome that sense of isolation.
Because there are many people in the same situation
Right.
who maybe have some insight that they can share with each other.
Oh, absolutely. My experience is when people come into a program like this, they're feeling extremely alone in the battle that they're losing with their drug addiction. And so to be part of a group and develop some connection is healing in itself.
I hear you guys require 2 hours of sober fun. Is that right?
It's actually
Do our best,
1
yeah.
hour. We
1 hour of sober fun?
called sober recreation, which we encourage them to participate in.
Is that a day, a week?
It's every day.
Every day.
Every
you gotta
day.
have fun.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then
so-
Frank is sometimes one who takes clients out on a weekend outing, and the discovery that, hey, I can have fun without being high is
Maybe
part
I've
of
forgotten how to do that.
is part of the process.
Wonderful. So tell us about the medical staff here at Manatee Glens.
We have a full-time nurse, RN, that's on the unit daily, with maybe the exception of the weekend, and then there are other nurses in the hospital that can help. We have a psychiatric nurse practitioner that's here every day and available, and then of course Dr. Zagul, who is our medical director.
Right. So Manatee Glens Addiction Center is unique because you're co-occurring. Tell us what co-occurring is and why that's important for the residents here.
Co-occurring refers to, in addition to addiction, many people come with anxiety disorder, past trauma experience, and many times the addiction is serving to self-medicate those conditions. So in some cases, I mean, we must help people overcome their addiction to drugs and become abstinents, but those other conditions are going to undermine their efforts to recovery if we don't begin to address those.
So the Addiction Center treats both kinds of
Yes.
disorders, so
Yes.
that
Our primary focus would be on the addiction, substance addiction, but secondarily and in a complementary way, we address the others.
Frank, people talk about the 12-step program. What is that, and why is it such a lifeline for people in recovery?
Well, because it's a way to gain new self-discovery upon oneself.
So it almost sounds like almost a spiritual process of recovery.
In some ways it is, absolutely. It's a way for them to dig down deep inside and find out who they really are, and to find out what they need to do to change.
Habits are hard to change, and the 12-step groups support people in that process of change, which is lifelong.
Absolutely.
So I wonder, Dave, in your counseling, do you encounter that people have a kind of emptiness that they're also kind of hiding with their addiction? How do you address that in counseling?
Yeah, very often there's a void in life, and people sometimes mistakenly, we can try to fill that with a lot of things, even if it's not an addiction to drugs.
Right, it could be work or exercise or
Absolutely.
a lot of different things that might not be viewed as dysfunctional in society.
Right. So part of the recovery process is finding healthy things in life to fill that void. We do a group on grief because one of the losses people have to contend with is the loss of their drug of choice. Even though it's a good thing to give that up,
It's been a companion.
it's
for
functioned,
a big
yeah,
part of your
in a
life.
certain way.
And a coping mechanism. So it's like giving up your blankie,
absolutely,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, it's like that little line from the song Piano Man, sitting in the corner making love to his tonic and gin. I mean, there's that personal connection people feel with their choice. So helping them let that go and then put healthy activities, relationships, goals, a return to dreams that they may have is a real important part.
Finding hope again.
Yeah, it's a part of the process.
Dave, can you recall a moment that particularly touched you when a person that perhaps was lost found that hope again? A case that really stays with you and encourages you every day?
Yeah, I mean, I remember recently a woman I was working with that came in so depressed she could not get up and take care of her 2 children. She shared with me, I had just almost decided to give up. And then I thought I'll try this one time. And recently she returned to what we have on Saturday as a graduate group. It's full of hope, and it hasn't been easy, but she's hopeful again and living. She's available to her kids and enjoying her life again.
Wonderful. Frank, people tell me there's something special about Manatee Glens Addiction Center. Many times people have to go through more than one course of treatment before it really takes hold. So from your experience, what is special about what happens in this facility?
Well, in my honest opinion, I think it's just that the compassion that the staff brings to the clients, that they have the life experience that a lot of the clients are looking to gain perspective on. We're working together hand in hand and making sure that they can understand where they're going next.
Right, right, wonderful. Well, thank you both for the work that you do at Manatee Glens Addiction Center, and thank you for appearing on the Manatee Glens Report.